Hey everyone, it's Amy from Hysteria. I've been a bit MIA, I guess, on social media over the past few weeks. If you remember, I went to the Pacific Northwest for vacation, and I was actually having a fantastic time buying a ton of vinyl and really great stuff in Portland and Olympia. Seattle area. I was just having a great time, and I actually was getting a little behind on updating my social media for everyone because I was just so busy on vacation and going to so many places. And by the time I got home every evening, I was just ready to crash. So I was hoping that my first video back from vacation would be one where I would be showing all the great stuff that I found, but actually, this isn't really about that. It's more about something that actually happened towards the end of my vacation that I wanted to talk about because it's something that I hadn't really thought about before and realized sort of the implications and some things that I need to do in the future to prevent something like this happening again. Basically, while we were on vacation, my parents were coming out to my house daily to take care of my cats. And they came to my house one morning to find that the door was open and someone had smashed a few windows to get into my house. And they stole things and they trashed the house from top to bottom. And unfortunately, they cut themselves in the process and bled all over everything in my house. Thankfully, the three cats were okay. One was out on the porch, but the other two were just in hiding. Nobody was hurt. It could have been a lot worse if we had been here and they had been armed. It could have been a lot worse than it was. Getting that call while on vacation wasn't much fun. It was terrible. We caught the first flight we could out of Seattle. We had to take 2 flights overnight to get home. And then we had to drive from the airport back home, which was a couple of hours. So it was a rough day. And we came home to find that, yeah, I mean, they ransacked the house top to bottom, just destroyed everything. And blood was everywhere, all over the house. And they had stolen some really important family jewelry. They That was basically all they were after. I mean, the first thing I thought when my parents said, they broke in, I thought, okay, everything's gone. I imagined no TV, no records, no guitars, nothing left. But actually, it seems like they did this in the day, and we live actually on the main drag in town, which is why I'm so surprised that this actually happened. They must have just grabbed the jewelry that they could get. They grabbed a coin bank with Canadian change in it. I guess they felt that that would be valuable, but it maybe had $7 or $8 worth of Canadian money in it. Not really worth it, but they took that too. Yeah, so they stole my grandmother. My maternal grandmother passed away last year, and she was we were very, very close, and I had her diamond ring, and they stole that. And they stole my paternal grandmother's wedding ring set. And they stole some other jewelry that didn't have quite as much sentimental value to me, but they took it nonetheless. And they took a necklace that was my grandmother's, and other things that they were just looking for quick cash, basically. And I think that they realized that if they took anything big, then they would be noticed walking down the street with that kind of stuff. We live on a pretty main drag. So, and so for the past 2 weeks, I've been dealing with the aftermath. We had to have hazmat cleaners come in and clean the floors and the walls because there was so much blood. We had to have the windows repaired. We had to have security systems installed, interior and exterior. These are things that I never thought about. I always lock all my doors. I have deadbolts. I live pretty close to my neighbors, and I know all my neighbors. Again, I live on a major throughway, so like thoroughfare through town. So even though I knew that, in my small city, drugs and gangs are a huge problem, I never assumed it would happen to me. Even though break-ins were a common occurrence, it usually happened in different areas of town and not so much where I live. But it was a wake-up call. I came home to find that none of my records had been stolen. They didn't trash them, which is surprising given that they trashed other rooms. But unfortunately, my very, very expensive Slater-Kinney colored vinyl box set was in the master bedroom, which is the room that was the most trashed and had the most blood. And they handled that with bloody hands. They tossed it down, and they banged up the box cover. They spilled something. They were trying to clean up after themselves, so they spilled all sorts of liquids all over. So the box itself is ruined. The records are, I guess they're okay. I haven't played them, but unfortunately, that was $300, that set, and now that set is going to have to be replaced because it's got blood on it, somebody else's blood, and the box is all bashed, and that really upsets me, that happened. I am thankful that none of the other records were touched, but it was a big wake-up call for me. As we're dealing with the insurance company and trying to get reimbursement for a lot of the items that were damaged or stolen, we're getting asked for things like receipts and, serial numbers and catalog numbers and photographs of things, and what condition they were in, their relative value, things like that you normally wouldn't think about. I never really thought of my record collection as being anything, it's not anything spectacular, but I do have some records that I've paid a lot of money for, some records that are rare and hard to find in my collection. And they probably wouldn't be of any value to most collectors, but they're of value to me. And I realized that, for the future, it's important to try to protect those. And obviously we've beefed up security a lot since this happened, which is great. And it was definitely needed. So I'm glad that happened. But at the same time, if all of my records were gone, I would have a really tough time remembering every single record that I had. I would have a tough time producing receipts for a lot of them unless I purchased them online. Things like that I never really thought about needing before in the event that someone would take my entire record collection. And it's the same thing with the guitars. We have a lot of guitars, a couple of which are valuable. And again, things like serial numbers and pictures and descriptions and receipts, things like that are so useful. So that was a wake-up call, and now I'm going to start cataloging everything that I have. I'm going to photograph every single record that I have. I'm going to make sure that I know how much I paid for it, and if I still have the receipt, I'm going to keep that in a central location, and know what the value is, because when something like this happens too, the insurance company wants you to move fast. And it's sometimes hard to come up with all those numbers and those details in such a short amount of time. So that's on my plan to do, but I kind of wanted to share all this with you guys because, I know some of you have enormous collections and you might catalog everything, and you might know the value of everything and have a list of every record in a central place, whether you keep track of it on Discogs or whatever. But for those of you who might not, you know, you think this thing will never happen to you, but it can happen. And it's always good to protect the investment that you've made. I mean, vinyl is a huge investment, not only in terms of money, but in terms of time. You know, I have spent so much time in record stores looking for all different records that I want and need for my collection. You know, I've spent a lot of time online researching them. You know, it's a hobby that takes up a lot of time and a lot of money. And it's definitely wise to protect that investment as best you can. So, you know, I just wanted to sort of share with you guys so that if you, you know, maybe don't have that information in your, you know, you think maybe, if something ever happened to my collection, what would I do? You know, what would I have to go through to try to get some of that back, or at least get some money for it so that I can try to replace those items? Then that's, you know, it's something that you may want to consider doing. And in terms of reselling them as well, you know, some criminals are not that bright, and they're going to go ahead and turn around and sell that stuff. And they might sell it on eBay. They might sell it on Craigslist. They might sell it, I don't know, in any way. You know, for me, the jewelry that was stolen, the cops are scouring databases, pawn databases in several states, hoping to catch a match so that maybe I can get this jewelry back. But things like records, oh, they might not go and pawn them, but they might try to sell them if they realize that they have some kind of value. But having a photograph, you know, some sort of identifying thing where maybe you can say, okay, you know, this valuable record of mine was stolen and I want to get it back. And then you can look, and if the person that stole it is an idiot and they're selling it online, you know, you can at least try to, you know, alert the police to that. I've been scouring eBay too for the jewelry, because you never know what these people are going to do with it, how they're going to sell it. So, but having photographs and receipts and things like that can be useful. You know, one of the watches that was stolen is just, it's a basic watch. It had some stones in it. You know, it's not that unusual. But, you know, by me having photographs of it, and, you know, there might be certain identifying features that would make it stand out from another person's watch. So those are just things, you know, that I've sort of been thinking about. It's stuff that I never thought I would have to think about before. It's been kind of a nightmare, actually, trying to get all this done, trying to get everything taken care of and sort of get life back on track, because, you know, we came home with just the clothes we had on vacation. All the rest of our clothes had to be professionally decontaminated and cleaned, and we still don't have those back. And we, you know, have boarded up windows. The windows have been fixed, but we don't have curtains because those, again, are also being decontaminated and cleaned. You know, things like that. It's been rough. And it's just been rough knowing, you know, just thinking about how someone's blood has been all over my house. And even though it's cleaned and I've cleaned and, you know, we've cleaned over and over and over again after the hazmat crews, it's still disgusting, and it feels like such a huge invasion. And it's just tough to sort of accept that and deal with it. I'm very upset about the loss of the jewelry, because it just meant so much to me. I don't care about some of the gold rings that I had, that had no sentimental value, that were things that, you know, an old boyfriend gave me that I'm not really that attached to. But in terms of the family jewelry, I'm really hoping that we can get that back. Yeah, so that cut our vacation short, which is unfortunate. We were supposed to go see Wimps in Portland, actually, the night that we got the phone call. Well, we got the phone call in the morning, but that evening we were supposed to go see Wimps. And then we were supposed to kind of come back from the Pacific Northwest and go down to New York City and New Jersey and see Quasi. And it would have been my first time seeing them. And unfortunately, we had to cancel both because there was just so much to deal with here, and there still is. I was supposed to be going to see Hotelier and Told Slant and Bellows this weekend, but that's not going to happen. It's kind of expensive when you're suddenly faced with having to replace everything in your house, furniture and clothes, and install security systems and make security updates to your house when you don't have insurance money in hand to cover it. Not that we'll be getting insurance money to cover everything, but you know, it's been expensive. So that means I'm a little cut off from buying records over the next little while, which is fine because I really did amass a huge amount of stuff while I was in Portland and Olympia, and I can't wait to show you guys that stuff. I'm just still, everything from vacation is sort of still all packed as we sort of deal with this, and we're sort of living out of one or two rooms of our house. So I will be coming to you guys with that video soon, but I just kind of wanted to give you an update on sort of what's been going on and some of the ideas that I've had about protecting the things that you love and the things that you're investing in, which in this case, we all love vinyl. We have a lot of us have a lot of, great records, invaluable records that just mean a lot to us. And you want to think that nothing could ever happen to them, but something could. And that's why I think it's very important to protect that collection as best you can and catalog it and be prepared in the awful event that something did happen. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of share those thoughts with you guys and give you a heads up why I've been sort of gone for a few weeks. I'm not sure when I'm going to be able to do the update with all the great stuff that I got from Portland and Olympia, but I'm hoping now that things are starting to quiet down a little bit at my house, that I can at least start updating social media with some of the photos of the items that I took while I was still in Portland, because I really did find some amazing stuff, and I'm very, very excited about it. So yeah, thanks for watching and listening to me ramble about all this stuff. But it's yeah, it just made me think a lot about protecting certain things that I never really expected to that I would have to protect or catalog or anything like that. I mean, I do have a bit of a catalog for my vinyl, but it wasn't that in depth, and now I'm gonna make sure that it is. So but I'm sorry I haven't kept up on anyone's haul videos or anything like that. I've been really offline most of the time, but I'm hoping to start watching some of your videos soon, see what you guys have been up to over the past few weeks, and hopefully you'll see me again soon. So take care until then, and yeah, thanks, take care.